You've been living in a perfectly constructed illusion, and you don't even know it. Right now, as you listen to these words, you're operating from one of 5 distinct levels of consciousness, each with its own frequency, its own challenges, and its own hidden gifts. Most people remain unconscious of which level they're inhabiting, wandering through their spiritual evolution like sleepwalkers in a lucid dream. But here's what changes everything. The moment you identify your current level of awakening, you stop being a victim of unconscious spiritual drift and become the conscious architect of your own transformation. You stop struggling against invisible currents and begin flowing with the intelligence that's been guiding you all along. What I'm about to share with you isn't just theory. These 5 levels of spiritual awakening represent a mapped territory that mystics, quantum physicists, and consciousness researchers have been exploring for centuries. Each level operates on a different vibrational frequency, and understanding where you are right now is like suddenly having GPS for your soul's journey. By the end of this transmission, you'll not only know exactly which level you're currently experiencing, but you'll understand the precise practices and perspectives that will accelerate your movement to the next phase of your evolution. This isn't just information, it's transformation waiting to happen. Let me begin with something that might surprise you. Spiritual awakening isn't a single event. It's a systematic unfolding that happens in predictable patterns. Just as a butterfly moves through distinct metamorphic stages, consciousness evolves through specific levels, each one preparing you for what comes next. Think of it this way. If you were climbing a mountain, you'd want to know which base camp you're at, what terrain lies ahead, and what equipment you need for the next section of the climb. Spiritual evolution works exactly the same way. When you understand the architecture of awakening, you stop feeling lost in the wilderness of your own growth. These 5 levels aren't arbitrary categories I've created. They emerge from the intersection of ancient wisdom traditions and modern consciousness research. Sufi masters called them stations of the heart. Buddhist practitioners recognize them as stages of enlightenment. Quantum field theorists describe them as phase transitions in awareness itself. The first level is the divine disruption, when reality begins questioning itself through you. The second is the sacred seeking, when you become a collector of truth from every possible source. The third is the necessary dissolution, when everything you thought you knew crumbles into fertile emptiness. The fourth is the authentic emergence, when clarity crystallizes into unshakable knowing. And the fifth is the embodied expression, when your awakening becomes a gift to the world. But here's what most spiritual teachers won't tell you. You can't skip levels, but you can get stuck in them for decades if you don't understand their hidden mechanics. You can also accelerate through them once you know the specific frequencies and practices that each level requires. Right now, as you're listening to this, part of you already knows which level you're in. There's a recognition happening beneath the surface of your conscious mind. Your soul recognizes its own reflection in these descriptions. Trust that knowing. It's more accurate than any external assessment could ever be. The question isn't whether you're on a spiritual path. If you're here, if these words are finding you, that question has already been answered. The real question is, are you going to remain unconscious of your evolution? Or are you ready to become a conscious participant in your own awakening? Most people experience what I call unconscious awakening. They move through these levels driven by life circumstances, cosmic timing, and unconscious spiritual pressure. But there's another way. There's conscious awakening, where you understand the territory, recognize the signs, and actively cooperate with the intelligence that's orchestrating your evolution. Every mystic throughout history has walked this same path. Every sage, every enlightened being, every person who has ever touched the infinite and brought that touch back to share with the world has moved through these exact same levels. You're not walking alone. You're part of an ancient lineage of consciousness explorers. What makes this moment in history unique is that we now have the language, the scientific understanding, and the global connectivity to make this process conscious for unprecedented numbers of people. We're living in the first era where the mysteries of consciousness can be shared openly, studied scientifically, and practiced collectively. So let's begin this exploration. Let's map the territory of your awakening. Let's discover not just where you are, but where you're going, and how to get there with grace, wisdom, and accelerated evolution. The first level begins not with enlightenment, but with disruption. You're living your life according to the blueprint society handed you, following the prescribed path of education, career, relationships, and achievement. Everything appears normal from the outside. You might even be succeeding by conventional standards. Then something shifts. It's not dramatic. It's not mystical. It's more like a whisper that grows into a question that refuses to be silenced. Welcome to the divine disruption. This level starts with what I call the great questioning. You begin experiencing a profound dissatisfaction that doesn't match your external circumstances. You look around at your life and think, this can't be all there is. You feel like you're wearing a costume that no longer fits, playing a role that feels increasingly hollow. The divine disruption manifests differently for different people. For some, it's a growing sense of meaninglessness despite material success. For others, it's an inexplicable longing for something they can't name. Some experience it as a feeling of being an alien in their own life, watching themselves go through motions that once felt natural, but now feel scripted. What's happening on a quantum level is that your consciousness is beginning to vibrate at a frequency that no longer matches your current reality. It's like a tuning fork that's been struck, sending out a note that doesn't harmonize with the symphony you've been playing. This creates what physicists call interference patterns, which you experience as discomfort, restlessness, and questioning. You start noticing what most people call coincidences, but you sense there's a deeper pattern at work. You think of someone and they call. You need guidance and the perfect book appears in your path. You ask a question silently and receive an answer through an overheard conversation. These aren't random events. They're your consciousness learning to recognize the field of intelligence that's always been operating around you. The divine disruption also brings heightened sensitivity. You become more affected by other people's emotions. Violent movies feel unbearable. Crowds drain your energy. It's as if your spiritual nervous system is coming online for the first time, and it's incredibly sensitive to the vibrational environment around you. Here's where many people make their first crucial mistake. They try to silence the disruption. They work harder, play harder, consume more, do anything to avoid the uncomfortable questions arising within them. They attempt to return to the old normal, not understanding that the old normal is no longer available to them. The key to moving through the divine disruption successfully is radical acceptance. Not passive resignation, but active welcoming of the questions arising within you. The disruption isn't something going wrong. It's something going right. It's your soul beginning to remember its true nature. During this level, your most important practice is creating space for inner listening. Even 5 minutes of daily silence can create enough spaciousness for you to hear the voice of your deeper knowing. Start a question journal. Write down the questions arising within you without trying to answer them immediately. Let them marinate in your consciousness. Most importantly, understand that the divine disruption is an invitation. Life is asking, are you ready to discover who you really are beyond the roles you've been playing? How you respond to this invitation determines whether you step consciously into your evolution or spend years resisting a process that's inevitable anyway. Once you accept the invitation of the divine disruption, something beautiful and chaotic happens. You become what I call a spiritual vacuum cleaner, trying to absorb every piece of wisdom, every practice, every teaching that might help you understand what's happening to you. Welcome to the sacred seeking. If the first level was disruption, the second level is exploration. You develop an almost compulsive hunger for spiritual knowledge. Your internet history becomes a treasure map of consciousness content. Your bookshelf transforms into a spiritual library. You start following teachers, joining groups, attending workshops, and downloading every meditation app available. The sacred seeking is characterized by what I call divine ADHD. You want to try everything, experience everything, learn everything. Monday might find you practicing Tibetan meditation, Tuesday exploring shamanic journeying, Wednesday diving into quantum physics, and the weekend at a silent retreat. You collect spiritual practices like someone collecting rare gems, each one promising to be the key that unlocks your full awakening. This level brings tremendous excitement and tremendous confusion. Every book you read presents a different path. Every teacher offers their own method. Every tradition speaks a language that seems to contradict all the others. You might find yourself doing mindfulness meditation in the morning, reading about astral projection at lunch, and watching lectures on consciousness research at night. What's happening energetically is that your consciousness is rapidly expanding its capacity to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously. It's like your awareness is stretching its muscles, exploring its range of motion, discovering what it's capable of perceiving and experiencing. The sacred seeking also brings what I call spiritual materialism. You start accumulating not just practices, but spiritual objects, crystals, books, courses, and experiences. You might spend significant money on workshops, retreats, and anything that promises to accelerate your growth. The seeking becomes its own identity. Here's where the second crucial mistake happens. Many people become addicted to the seeking itself. They become spiritual tourists, always visiting but never settling, always learning but never practicing deeply enough to integrate. They mistake consuming spiritual content for actual spiritual development. The sacred seeking also activates the spiritual ego. You start feeling special because you're awakening while others around you remain asleep. You might find yourself judging friends and family who don't share your interests, feeling frustrated with conversations about mundane topics, or unconsciously developing a sense of superiority. But here's what the sacred seeking is really about. It's your consciousness learning to discern truth from illusion across multiple domains. You're not just collecting practices randomly. At a deeper level, you're developing your spiritual discrimination, learning to sense what resonates with your authentic nature and what doesn't. Now, while what I'm sharing with you today maps the territory of awakening, there's a deeper layer to this evolutionary process that involves understanding how consciousness itself operates as frequency. If you're finding these concepts resonating and you're ready to explore the complete system of frequency transmission and conscious broadcasting, I've compiled everything into a comprehensive guide called Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery. It takes you beyond just understanding these levels into actually mastering the 9 master frequencies that allow you to live as the field itself rather than separate from it. It's linked in the pinned comment below. But for now, Let's continue with how to navigate this current level consciously. The key to graduating from the sacred seeking is learning the art of spiritual focus. Instead of trying to do everything, choose 3 practices maximum and commit to them for at least 6 months. Instead of reading another book, spend that time practicing what you've already learned. Instead of attending another workshop, integrate what you've already experienced. This is also where you need to develop what Buddhists call beginner's mind. The more you know, the more you realize how little you know. The sacred seeking is preparing you for the humility you'll need in the next level. The transition from sacred seeking to the next level usually happens when you realize that all the seeking in the world can't give you what you're looking for. That realization marks the beginning of the most challenging and most necessary level of spiritual evolution. Just when you think you're getting somewhere, just when you feel like you're accumulating wisdom and spiritual experiences, everything collapses. Not your external life necessarily, though sometimes that happens too. What collapses is your sense of spiritual progress, your collection of beliefs, your identity as someone who knows something about the spiritual path. Welcome to the necessary dissolution. This level terrifies people more than any other, which is why many spiritual seekers spend decades avoiding it, circling around it, or trying to think their way through it. But the necessary dissolution isn't a detour from awakening. It's the very heart of it. It's where the caterpillar literally dissolves into formless soup before becoming a butterfly. The necessary dissolution begins when your spiritual practices stop working. Meditation feels empty. The books that once inspired you now feel hollow. The teachers you followed seem to be speaking a foreign language. You start questioning not just your beliefs, but whether there's any point to the spiritual path at all. You may experience what mystics call the dark night of the soul, but it's more accurate to call it the dark night of the ego. What's dying isn't your soul, it's your false identity, your spiritual persona, your collection of concepts about who you think you are and what you think spirituality is about. This level can bring profound sadness without apparent cause. You might feel like you're losing your mind, losing your faith, losing your way. Everything you built during the sacred seeking phase feels like it's crumbling. The spiritual identity you constructed feels like a costume you can no longer wear. Physically, the necessary dissolution can be exhausting. Your body is processing the death of old patterns, old beliefs, old ways of being. You might experience changes in sleep, appetite, energy levels. You're literally being rewired at a cellular level. What's happening from a quantum perspective is that your consciousness is moving through what scientists call a phase transition. Like water becoming steam, you're shifting from one state of being to another. The old structure must completely dissolve before the new structure can emerge. Here's the profound paradox of this level. The dissolution feels like spiritual failure, but it's actually spiritual success. It means you've exhausted the ego's capacity to control and manipulate the awakening process. You've reached the point where surrender is no longer optional. The biggest mistake people make during the necessary dissolution is trying to escape it quickly. They seek therapy, medication, new teachers, anything to return to the comfort of the previous levels. But there's no going back. The only way out is through. Some people get stuck in the necessary dissolution for years because they're fighting the process instead of surrendering to it. They're trying to solve with their mind what can only be resolved through complete letting go. The key to moving through the necessary dissolution is active surrender. Not passive resignation, but conscious cooperation with a process that's beyond your control. It's saying, I don't understand what's happening, but I trust that this dissolution is serving my highest evolution. This is where you learn true faith, not faith in beliefs or concepts, but faith in the intelligence that's orchestrating your transformation. It's where you discover that surrender isn't weakness. It's the ultimate expression of spiritual maturity. Develop a daily surrender practice. It might be as simple as saying, I surrender this moment to whatever wants to emerge through me. Practice self-compassion. The necessary dissolution is not punishment, it's purification. Treat yourself with the tenderness you would offer a friend going through a difficult time. Remember, every spiritual master in history has walked through this same dissolution. You're not alone in this process. You're participating in the ancient alchemy of consciousness evolution. Then, after what feels like an eternity of dissolution, something remarkable happens. Like dawn breaking after the longest night, clarity begins to emerge. Not the mental clarity of understanding, but the organic clarity of being. You're not learning something new. You're remembering something eternal. Welcome to the authentic emergence. The authentic emergence is unlike anything you experienced during the sacred seeking phase. Those were glimpses, insights, peak experiences that came and went. This is a stable shift in your fundamental frequency of being. It's like stepping out of a house you didn't realize you were in and seeing the vast sky for the first time. What characterizes this level is unshakable inner stillness. Not the stillness of repression or withdrawal, but the stillness of a mountain lake that remains calm regardless of weather patterns moving across its surface. You might be dealing with life challenges, but there's a center in you that remains undisturbed. You develop what I call quantum vision, the ability to see multiple levels of reality simultaneously. You can engage fully with the relative world of jobs, relationships, and responsibilities, while simultaneously resting in the absolute truth of your essential nature. You're no longer choosing between spiritual life and ordinary life because you've discovered they're the same life. Your relationship with thought fundamentally changes. Instead of being lost in the content of thoughts, you become aware of the space in which thoughts arise. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness aware of thoughts. This creates a natural detachment that's not indifference but wisdom. Compassion becomes spontaneous rather than practiced. When you see others struggling with the same patterns you once struggled with, you don't feel superior. You feel profound understanding. You remember what it was like to be identified with limitation, and that memory generates natural patience and kindness. The authentic emergence brings what mystics call choiceless awareness. You're no longer efforting to be spiritual. Your actions arise spontaneously from your essential nature, rather than from shoulds and shouldn'ts. You're not trying to be good. You're naturally expressing the goodness that you are. This level also brings the end of spiritual seeking, not because you've found what you were looking for, but because you've realized you are what you were looking for. The search ends not in acquisition, but in recognition. Many people mistake peak experiences or temporary states for the authentic emergence. The difference is stability. Peak experiences come and go. The authentic emergence is a permanent shift in your baseline frequency of consciousness. Here's where another potential trap exists. Some people reach the authentic emergence and stop evolving. They become comfortable in their newfound peace and clarity, forgetting that awakening has a purpose beyond personal fulfillment. They settle into spiritual retirement instead of stepping into spiritual service. The authentic emergence is not the end of the path. It's the beginning of authentic living. It's where you finally have something real to offer the world. Not more concepts or techniques, but the fragrance of genuine transformation. This level requires learning to live as consciousness while still functioning as a human being. You're learning to bring the infinite into the finite, the eternal into time, the absolute into the relative. It's a delicate dance that requires both transcendence and embodiment. Your practice during this level is integration. How do you maintain your connection to essential truth while paying taxes, dealing with difficult people, and navigating the complexities of human existence? How do you be spiritual while being completely human? The authentic emergence prepares you for the final level, where your personal awakening transforms into transpersonal service. The ultimate purpose of spiritual awakening isn't personal enlightenment, it's planetary transformation. The fifth level is where your inner realization becomes outer contribution, where your personal evolution serves collective evolution. Welcome to the embodied expression. In this level, you understand that your awakening was never about you. It was for you, through you, but not about you. You recognize yourself as a conscious agent of the evolutionary impulse that's seeking to express itself through human form. Your life becomes a transparent vehicle for something larger than your personal identity. The embodied expression is characterized by effortless service. You're not trying to save the world or fix anyone. Instead, your very presence becomes healing. Your authentic being creates ripples of transformation in every environment you enter. You become what Eckhart Tolle calls a portal into the transcendent. This doesn't necessarily mean you become a spiritual teacher or guru. You might be a conscious parent raising children who are naturally connected to their essential nature. You might be a professional who brings integrity and presence into the workplace. You might be a friend who offers the gift of deep listening and unconditional acceptance. The key characteristic of this level is integration. You're no longer living a double life, spiritual in some contexts and unconscious in others. Your spirituality is not something you practice, it's something you are. Every moment becomes an opportunity to express the truth you've realized. You develop what I call stealth spirituality. You're deeply spiritual without needing to announce it. Your transformation speaks louder than your words. People are drawn to your presence without always understanding why. You're emanating a frequency that touches others at levels they can't consciously identify. The embodied expression also brings responsibility. You become a guardian of the energetic quality of your environment. You realize that your inner state affects everyone around you, so you take responsibility for maintaining the highest frequency possible. You become conscious of the ripple effects of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. This level requires learning to hold paradox gracefully. You're simultaneously individual and universal, human and divine, personal and transpersonal. You're fully engaged with life while being completely unattached to outcomes. You care deeply about everything while being dependent on nothing. The practice of this level is conscious living. Every action becomes a meditation. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to serve. Every challenge becomes a chance to demonstrate the stability of your realization. You're not trying to be spiritual, you're allowing spirituality to live through you. What would change in your daily life if you approached every moment as sacred? Take a moment to reflect on this and share one simple way you could bring more consciousness to your everyday activities in the comments. Here's what many people don't understand about the fifth level. It's not a permanent state you achieve and then maintain forever. It's a frequency you learn to access more and more consistently. Some days you embody it fully, other days you forget and have to remember again. The difference is that you know how to return to this frequency because it's become your home base. People in the embodied expression often don't realize the impact they're having. They're not trying to transform anyone, but their authentic presence creates permission for others to be authentic. They're not preaching awakening, but they're demonstrating what awakened living looks like. This level brings the understanding that consciousness evolution is not an individual sport. It's a collective process. The more people who reach the embodied expression, the more the entire field of human consciousness shifts. You're not just awakening for yourself, you're awakening for the species. The ultimate realization of this level is that separation is an illusion. When you truly embody this truth, your personal healing becomes collective healing. Your individual awakening contributes to the awakening of the whole. You understand that serving others is serving yourself because there are no others. Now, let's pause here for a moment, because understanding these levels intellectually is different from recognizing where you are experientially. I want you to take a breath and feel into your current reality. Which of these levels resonates most deeply with your present experience? This isn't about judging where you are or trying to be somewhere else. It's about honest recognition of your current frequency, so you can work with it consciously rather than unconsciously. If you're experiencing the divine disruption, feeling that growing dissatisfaction with conventional life, then comment below with this phrase: I am ready to discover my true nature. Let this be your energetic declaration to the quantum field that you're choosing conscious evolution over unconscious drift. If you're in the sacred seeking phase, hungry for knowledge and experiences but feeling scattered, your work is focus and depth. Choose fewer practices and go deeper with them. If you're moving through the necessary dissolution, feeling like everything is falling apart, remember that dissolution is not destruction. It's preparation for reconstruction at a higher level of organization. If you've touched the authentic emergence, tasting stable peace and clarity, your work is learning to live this realization in everyday circumstances. And if you're stepping into the embodied expression, your work is allowing your awakening to serve something larger than your personal growth. But here's something crucial that most teachings about spiritual evolution miss. These levels aren't strictly linear. You might experience elements of multiple levels simultaneously. You might have moments of authentic emergence in the middle of necessary dissolution. You might taste embodied expression and then find yourself back in sacred seeking. Awakening isn't a straight line, it's a spiral. You revisit themes at deeper levels. You cycle through patterns with increasing consciousness. The goal isn't to graduate from one level and never return. It's to move through the spiral with increasing awareness and grace. Also, you might have been through some of these levels without consciously recognizing them. Many people experience the necessary dissolution disguised as depression or midlife crisis. Many experience the divine disruption during major life transitions. The key is recognizing these experiences as spiritual evolution rather than psychological problems. What accelerates movement through these levels is consciousness itself. The more aware you become of the process, the more you can cooperate with it rather than resist it. Fighting your current level keeps you stuck in it. Embracing your current level allows you to extract its gifts and move naturally to the next phase. Each level has its own curriculum, its own lessons, its own medicine. If you're trying to skip ahead or go backward, you're missing the education that's available right where you are. Trust that wherever you are is exactly where you need to be for your next level of growth. Now let me share something that could completely transform your relationship with this evolutionary process. There's an ancient understanding that spiritual evolution isn't just individual, it's also collective. The more people who become conscious of these levels, the more the entire morphic field of human consciousness shifts. Every person who moves consciously through these levels makes it easier for others to do the same. You're not just awakening for yourself, you're awakening for everyone who comes after you. You're contributing to what Rupert Sheldrake calls morphic resonance, making these evolutionary leaps more accessible for future generations. If this understanding of the 5 levels is touching something in you, if it's creating recognition or hope or excitement about your own evolution, then I invite you to subscribe not just to this channel, but to this frequency. Subscribe to the community of conscious evolutionaries who are choosing to awaken together rather than suffer alone. This isn't about consuming more spiritual content. It's about joining a field of coherent intention where your individual awakening contributes to collective transformation. When you subscribe, you're saying yes to your own evolution and supporting others in theirs. But understanding these levels is only the beginning. Knowledge without application remains sterile. The real question is, how do you consciously accelerate your movement through these evolutionary phases? Let me share what I call the 5 accelerators, one for each level. For the divine disruption, your accelerator is conscious questioning. Instead of trying to silence the questions arising within you, amplify them. Create space each day to ask the deepest questions without trying to answer them immediately. Let the questions work on you rather than you working on the questions. Start a question journal and notice how your questions evolve over time. For the sacred seeking, your accelerator is spiritual discipline. The antidote to spiritual ADD is spiritual commitment. Choose 3 practices maximum and stick with them for at least 6 months. Go deep rather than wide. Quality over quantity. Depth over breadth. Less consuming, more practicing. For the necessary dissolution, your accelerator is conscious surrender. Develop a daily practice of letting go. It might be through meditation, prayer, or simply saying, I surrender to whatever wants to emerge through me today. Stop trying to control a process that's beyond control and start cooperating with it. For the authentic emergence, your accelerator is integration practice. How do you maintain your connection to essential truth while dealing with everyday challenges? Practice being spiritual while being completely human. Find the sacred in the mundane. Let every activity become a meditation. For the embodied expression, your accelerator is conscious service. Look for ways to let your awakening serve something larger than your personal growth. This doesn't have to be dramatic or public. Sometimes the most powerful service is simply maintaining a high frequency in whatever environment you're in. But here's the meta accelerator that works at every level. Presence. The more present you become to your current experience, the more quickly you extract the gifts of your current level and naturally evolve to the next. Fighting where you are keeps you stuck. Embracing where you are sets you free. Presence is not a spiritual technique. It's the very nature of consciousness itself. When you rest in presence, you're resting in your true nature. From that resting place, evolution happens spontaneously. Now, there's something else you need to understand about this evolutionary process. Each level comes with its own potential obstacles and shadow expressions. Knowing these ahead of time can help you navigate them consciously. The shadow of the divine disruption is denial and spiritual materialism. You might try to silence the call through more work, more entertainment, more consumption. Or you might develop weekend spirituality, dabbling in consciousness practices without allowing them to actually change your life. The shadow of the sacred seeking is spiritual ego and information addiction. You might start feeling superior to those who aren't on a conscious path. You might become addicted to collecting spiritual experiences and knowledge without ever going deep enough to be truly transformed. The shadow of the necessary dissolution is premature exit. Because this phase is uncomfortable, many people try to escape it through spiritual bypassing, returning to old patterns or seeking quick fixes. The key is understanding that the dissolution is not the problem, it's the solution. The shadow of the authentic emergence is spiritual stagnation and isolation. You might become so comfortable in your newfound peace that you stop growing, or you might withdraw from the world because it feels too dense compared to your expanded awareness. The shadow of the embodied expression is the savior complex and spiritual pride. You might become obsessed with saving everyone, or develop a subtle sense of superiority disguised as humility. The antidote to all these shadows is the same: honest self-reflection and spiritual humility. Regular reality checks with trusted friends, mentors, or spiritual directors. Willingness to be corrected when you're getting unconscious. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's conscious evolution. You also need to understand that these levels aren't grades in school where you're trying to get to the highest level as quickly as possible. Each level has its own beauty, its own gifts, its own necessary function in the larger symphony of consciousness evolution. Someone in the divine disruption is asking the questions that need to be asked. Someone in the sacred seeking is exploring territories that need to be mapped. Someone in the necessary dissolution is composting old forms to create soil for new growth. Someone in the authentic emergence is demonstrating what stable awakening looks like. Someone in the embodied expression is serving the collective evolution. All levels are necessary. All levels are sacred. All levels are contributing to the larger awakening that's happening on our planet right now. This brings me to something profound that's happening in our current historical moment. We're living in the first era where these evolutionary processes can be shared openly, studied scientifically, and practiced collectively. We're witnessing the democratization of awakening. Throughout most of human history, these levels of consciousness were accessible only to a small number of mystics, sages, and spiritual specialists. Now, because of our interconnectedness, our scientific understanding of consciousness, and our collective readiness, these evolutionary leaps are becoming available to unprecedented numbers of people. You're not just on a personal spiritual journey, you're participating in a species-wide evolutionary leap. Your individual awakening is contributing to a larger awakening that could transform human civilization itself. This is why your consciousness matters. This is why your evolution is important, not just for you, but for the collective. Every person who moves consciously through these levels makes it easier for others to do the same. We're at a critical point in human evolution, where the old structures of consciousness are dissolving and new structures are emerging. The people who are conscious of this process, who are choosing to evolve deliberately rather than unconsciously, are the ones who will midwife this transformation. Before we complete this exploration, I want to leave you with one final practice that can serve you regardless of which level you're currently experiencing. I call it the daily frequency check. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what frequency did I predominantly operate from today? Not as judgment, but as conscious awareness. Were you primarily in fear or love, contraction or expansion, resistance or acceptance, separation or connection? This simple practice develops what I call frequency consciousness, the ability to recognize your vibrational state and consciously shift it when needed. Over time, this becomes automatic, and you begin to catch yourself earlier and earlier when you're dropping into lower frequencies. As we come to the completion of this transmission, I want you to take a moment and feel into which level resonates most strongly with your current experience. Don't overthink it. Let your body wisdom guide you. Which description created the strongest sense of recognition? Now I want you to comment below with one word that captures the energy or intention you're choosing for your continued evolution. Just one word. Let this be your energetic signature to the quantum field. Let it be your declaration of conscious participation in your own awakening. Maybe your word is surrender if you're learning to let go. Maybe it's focus if you're learning to go deeper. Maybe it's integration if you're learning to live your realization. Maybe it's service if you're learning to offer your awakening to the world. Whatever word arises, let it be authentic. Let it come from the deepest place in you that knows what's needed for your next level of evolution. And if this exploration has created resonance in you, if it's helping you understand your own journey with more clarity,